parents have some concerns of some stuff they may have found in your room?
Yeah, I believe so.
And what would it be?
A human head and hands.
Committing a crime always comes with guilt that can haunt you for days or maybe even years. But for Brian Cohee, things are a little different. The joy he found in taking a life was similar to the joy a child feels when receiving a toy. But were things easy for him afterward? Brian Cohee was born into a middle-class American family with a million dreams to achieve. While growing up, his parents stood by his side to support him and made his life easy every single day. But they never knew that Cohee was drifting away from them. The demon inside him wasn't silent for a long time after that. This 19-year-old Brian Cohee suffered mental issues, including ADHD or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and major depressive disorder, which took a toll on him many times. His parents tried different methods to make their son feel better, but nothing found a solution to what Brian was feeling in his head. Taking medications was the only option left for him to secure his future. But what happened on February 27, 2021 changed the whole life of Brian and his family. Did the demon inside him take shape on that day? Brian Cohee was driving back home on the night of February 27, 2021. He was in a bad mood on that day since he missed out on medicines. He was feeling lonely and disappointed in himself. That's the time when your intrusive thoughts can take a toll on you, especially when you have a serious mental disorder. It seems that's what happened to Brian on that day. A single choice that he made on that day shattered his life and family into pieces beyond repair. Brian saw a 69-year-old homeless man named Warren Barnes sleeping under an overbridge near Crosby Avenue. He was always fascinated by murderers, particularly after watching stories about Ted Bundy and other infamous killers. And he thought it would be the right time for him to experience the mystery behind taking a life in his hands. Cohee slowly walked toward the man with a knife in his hand. Before the older man could react or respond, he stabbed him in the neck. He stabbed again and again till the poor older man lost his life. With a shivering voice, the man asked again and again, "Who are you? Why are you doing this?" Did Brian have an answer to this? Certainly not. He said, "I've wanted to do this for a long time."
And I paused and he said, "Why are you doing this?" And I said, "I've been wanting to do this for a long time." All the while, no, actually, after I killed him, I just couldn't stop saying, "Sticky, dirty, dirty, sticky."
Killing a man wasn't enough for him to succeed in the mission. Brian dared to cut the man into pieces. He kept the head in a container box and took it home. On March 1st, 2021, Brian was arrested in Colorado after a bag containing human remains was found at a local address of his. It's still unknown who passed the information on to the police officers. The events that took place till then were nothing different from the serial killings that the world has already witnessed. But what makes Brian Cohee's story different is the way he confessed to the cold-blooded murder that he committed with so much pride. While being interviewed by investigators, Cohee reportedly admitted to killing and decapitating Warren Barnes. What stunned the investigators was how he described the way he killed a helpless man.
And how did you get here?
I murdered someone.
Okay. So start back at the beginning and go slow and tell me as many details as you can remember.
So, because Murray going to jail for the 15 years probably.
I have no idea.
Because
We're at the beginning.
it's murder. I'm going to jail for 20 probably, but I am in a bad state of mind at that time. I have major depressive disorder, so I am not thinking something positively.
Okay.
And Brian, before you start, you say you have a major depressive disorder. I'm just curious what those are.
Well, actually, I have several. I have high-functioning Asperger's.
Okay.
I have ADHD. and major depressive disorder.
He already knew the potential consequences of the crime he was about to commit at that time. Even when the interrogation started, he began by saying that he was going to be in jail for 15 to 20 years. What makes it even more crazy is that he's not scared of going to prison. Who knows? Maybe he's fascinated by life in prison as well. When the officer asked him to give details about the way he committed the murder, Brian was even ready to illustrate it. He didn't hesitate to demonstrate how he stabbed that older man in the neck to death. He explained the exact crime spot to the officer, which made it easy for the investigating team to get more evidence that could potentially solve the case.
Yeah, there's a road underneath, right? Under the overpass. And I was driving along, and I see a shape here on the railway track. So I'm like, oh, interesting.
Okay.
And I'm like, that's a homeless person. So I grab my knife, I put on 3 layers of gloves.
What are you worried about? I mean, this looks like it's pretty close to the road and stuff. Somebody seeing you or catching you?
It was 11 p.m., so not many were driving by.
So, were you worried about them seeing you?
I was worried about one of them stopping. But
What did you think could happen if somebody...
Well, if they looked, well, it was quite dark under there, so they wouldn't have seen the guy unless they looked. They would have seen me holding a bloody 12-inch knife, wearing gloves, and wearing a mask to conceal my identity, a face mask.
Okay. So you weren't doing it for COVID, you were doing it to hide your face?
Partially.
When asked about his mental state at that time, Brian said that he was fascinated and excited to get to the man and take his life. He wasn't even scared of the fact that someone else could have seen him and reported him to the police. While asked about the same, he said that it was 11 p.m. and he had gloves and masks to cover his identity.
So I grab my knife, I put on 3 layers of gloves.
What are you worried about? I mean, this looks like it's pretty close to the road and stuff. Somebody seeing you or catching you?
It was 11 p.m., so not many were driving by.
So, were you worried about them seeing you?
I was worried about one of them stopping. But
What did you think could happen if somebody...
Well, if they looked, well, it was quite dark under there, so they wouldn't have seen the guy unless they looked. They would have seen me holding a bloody 12-inch knife, wearing gloves, and wearing a mask to conceal my identity, a face mask.
Okay. So you weren't doing it for COVID, you were doing it to hide your face?
Partially.
That was when the investigating officer realized that he was dealing with an extremely dangerous individual with serious mental issues. The excitement that flared in Brian's head potentially scared the officers, and that shock increased minute after minute. The way Brian explained cutting open Barnes's body remains a gross memory for them. After stabbing him to death without having any second thoughts, Brian stripped his clothes. He said that he cut open Barnes's gut to see how gut looks, and with a smile, he said, "It looks really pink." That came along with an evil smile, even though he felt it was morbid.
Open his belly to see his guts. They're really pink. Sorry, that was morbid.
Following that, he cut off his head while giving him a Glasgow smile. With much excitement, he plucked the eyes out of the body. After a while of thought, Brian decided to cut the hands out of the body. He cut his right arm at the elbow, followed by his shoulder. When Brian tried to cut the other hand, Warren's radius bone broke and came out with flesh. So he cut the entire arm. Afterward, he took the head and put it in a leftover pie box from a few nights ago.
Then I cut off his head. I gave him a Glasgow smile.
What's that?
A Joker smile. I destroyed his eyes by stabbing them in.
Okay.
And then I cut off his hands. I put those in plastic Ziploc bags. And then I cut off his right arm at this joint and at this joint. And then at this arm, I tried cutting it here, and then I tried cutting it here. But what happened was, I accidentally broke his bone. This one, it was poking out. And so I left that one here, partially cut, dismembered here, bone sticking out. And then I left his body there. And then I took the head, put it in a leftover box from the dinner a few nights ago. I was thinking about taking out his heart. I was planning to maybe keep a finger.
You haven't got that far yet.
No.
After packing the hands and head, he cleaned the knife and threw the garbage, which had Warren's blood on it. While going back home, he threw his hands from his car, but he preferred to keep the head with him and hid it in the kitchen sink. It was Brian's parents who found the head in their house.
Hid the hands and head in my room. Cleaned the knife. Threw away the garbage with the blood on it. In a washing machine. Put it on high speed so it would effectively remove the blood. Washed it twice. I take his body out. I put it in the water. And because I don't want fingerprints on a body.
So you cut him open, did you cut his arms off, his hands off, all that before you went home?
Yeah, before I went home, I tossed the arm bits around. Like, I took the right arm bit, threw it out,
Okay.
took the left arm bit, threw it
So
out.
live somewhere around that bridge?
Yeah. Thank you for the water, by the way. Sure.
Do you need more?
I will take another, please.
You know, let me go get one, okay?
I hope I'm being cooperative.
Oh, you're doing great.
He carefully wiped away any traces that might link him to the murder. After doing so, he traveled back to the crime scene, loaded up other remains of the victim, and put them in the trunk of his car, and then went to dispose of those parts in the river at a local boat ramp. Even though he tried his best to keep everything under the hood, the truth was meant to pop out one day, and it did. But what made him do such a heinous crime? Mental stress and disorder can always take a toll on a person's life, but what Brian did on that day is beyond explanation. Intrusive thoughts have always fascinated Brian, and he's always wanted to know how it feels to cut open a human body. Many serial killers, including Ted Bundy, the infamous serial killer, inspired him, but Brian himself admits that he isn't a serial killer and it was a one-time thing. But what about the first time? He wondered for years about what a murder would look like. He's been planning to attempt a murder for 6 months and has tried killing animals meanwhile. When asked what it was like to kill, he responded that it was the best feeling in the world. Even though Brian's mental disorder provides some context to the crime, it doesn't excuse or entirely explain the alleged violent behavior that can be a threat to the people in his inner circle. It's a heads up that mental disorders will not only take a toll on the person, but leave a warning for others as well. So what do you think? Does Brian's mental disorder justify the crime that he committed? Let us know in the comments down below, and also don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to keep up with all the curveballs we throw your way. Stay informed for more updates on shocking cases just like this.